I'm Kate.
I'm Red Sonya.
I'm Beverly, and today we're dishing with you from Mary Vanna at 1141 Connecticut Avenue in DuPont.
This is a great Russian restaurant. We have some yummy things in front of us, including the Olivier salad, which is a melange of diced potatoes, carrots, bologna, and pickles. But we also have the herring under a fur coat, layers of herring, carrots, beets, and potatoes. And we also have the salo plate, traditional salt-cured pork fatback, and of course the vinaigrette, refreshing beets, and vegetable salad. It's traditional Russian food.
This place is supposed to be like the Russian fable of the grandmother who fed the weary traveler. You can come here to get great Russian food, and you can also get 70 different types of vodka, including vodka in that Antonovska you've got right there.
Yes. And our guest today is Dr. Katy Nelson. She is the host of The Pet Show on News Channel 8. Welcome, Katy. We're talking about loving your animals.
I know. You need to be doing that all year round, not just in February.
It's the month of love, so at least we can talk about loving our animals during the month of love.
That's right.
So Valentine's Day is actually when most people spend the most amount of money on their pets. Is that true?
I have no idea.
I've heard this.
Did you get this fact somewhere?
It's true
if you see it on the internet.
I read it on the internet,
Yeah,
so it must be true.
And I was seeing it on the district dish, so true. So what's the best way that we can honor our love for our pets but not breaking the bank?
Well, you know, I mean, first off, a lot of the treats that we give to our loved ones are not appropriate treats for our pets. This is
in other words, chocolate's out.
Yeah, this is a big time of year for pet emergencies. And so, you know, people come in and they want to surprise someone, so they leave a big box of chocolates on the counter, and then your dog eats it, and then you come to see somebody like me at an emergency hospital to, you know, deal with that. So make sure, you know, one big step is to make sure that your treats that you're getting for your pets are not going to, I mean, for your friends are not going to your pets. So that's a really good way of loving them, is keeping them out of the hospital.
Okay, well, you don't want them to have those chocolate treats, but are there great treats for Valentine's gifts?
There are tons of wonderful treats out there, and there are tons of recipes that you could even make your own if you want to do something really special, you know. And we actually did this at my house for our dog at Christmas time. Now ours, I got 2 kids, and you know, kind of a busy life going on. So I didn't actually make them from scratch. I bought some pet treats that you can bake, but you know, it was really fun. I let my son kind of roll them out, and he got to use a little doggy cookie cutter, and he just thought it was the coolest thing ever, and we baked them, and then he had to try them, so he didn't love them.
Like, this is not for you. This is definitely
no, he didn't love them. He said, but the doggy, why are they so dry?
No, I don't have a pet, and I have never had a dog, but I love everyone else's dogs. Do dogs really understand the concept of, I know they get treats and that you can make, you know, have them roll over for a treat, but do they understand that it's a special day, that it's...
Well, they understand that you're making them feel special. So, you know, whether they know that this is a piece of kibble out of their bowl that they would normally eat, or whether this is something that you specially created, if you're making a big fuss over them and you're making a big deal out of it, then that's all they care about. You know, it's like basically, oh my God, they're paying attention to me. Oh crap.
So paying attention to your pet, we talk about, you know, you said it should be all the time, not just in February, but what are some of the ways you should really pay attention to them this month?
Well, in this
other
month,
than treats.
Well, other than treats, but this month though, I mean, it's really cold outside. It's been really, really, really cold, and one way to really, you know, pay some good quality attention to them is making sure that we're keeping them clean and healthy this month. Because you got to think, when you're walking them down the street, there's all sorts of junk on these streets right now. There's salt, there's stuff coming out of people's cars, antifreeze, all of that stuff. So making sure that you, when you bring your pet in, number one, you don't want them tracking all that stuff in your house. You know, you don't want all those chemicals all over your house, especially, you know, someone who's in a delicate condition.
A fragile state.
Yes.
Always in a fragile state.
Yes, you don't want all that stuff, you know, in your house. So just use something simple. Keep some baby wipes by the door. You know, when you walk in off the street, make sure you clean off their feet, take off your shoes, and that way you're keeping your house nice and clean. Also, you have to think about if you've got a long-haired dog or a cat, they've got a lot of hair between their little pads, and they can get a lot of ice in between those pads. And you can imagine, like, getting ice stuck between your fingers would be quite uncomfortable. It's the same thing for these guys. So making sure you're warming them up up and getting them clean. And also just make sure you're not leaving your pets outside. I mean, we've had some nights that have been 15, 16 degrees, and I mean, that can be deadly for pets. So make sure you're keeping them in, and if they have to be outside, they've got a heat source and they have fresh water because their water can freeze. So you got to make sure that their water is staying warm enough for them to drink.
Okay, coats on animals.
Yes.
I'm
Do they
back
help?
and forth about
They're
this
cute.
because they are cute and lamb looks great in them. But really, I mean,
Lamb looks great in anything.
true. But I mean, really, does the dog
They
need
might
a
need them
coat?
to stay warm.
They have a coat.
There are some dogs, I'll just put it that way.
Sure.
My dog is a poodle mix. He's a big, froofy, doofy thing. He absolutely does not need a coat and would probably, like, if they could sweat, he would
Scratch it off.
probably sweat if he could. But, you know, think about little short-haired dogs and little dogs in general. As they age, just like people, you kind of lose your thermoregulatory ability. Same thing for these little bitty dogs or older cats and dogs. So I think that coats and things like that are good for them. Also, think about the really thin-coated animals. You know, like a pit bull or a little chihuahua, and they've got this little thin hair coat. They might actually benefit from something like that just to keep them warm.
What about the
and
little?
cute.
I've actually seen little dogs with little booties on.
Oh yeah, protectors.
Yes.
Yes.
It does. It
Do
keeps
they
all
work?
of
Protectors.
you were talking about the salt and the ice and
Yeah.
everything out of their paws,
Yeah.
so we like those.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. My dog would absolutely be mortified by it. Wouldn't, no.
They're
would-
hilarious to put on your dog just
I mean,
that first time anyway.
he literally
just like-
would just, you know, like, no way, not happening. It looked like a Tennessee Walker when he was trying to walk.
I'm going to change the subject a little bit, but we're talking about gifts and we're talking about
Yes.
animals, we're talking about Valentine's Day. So I know that you are a veterinarian,
I am.
but what would you say is a pro or a con or both to someone that's thinking about getting their loved one a pet for Valentine's
question.
Day?
Ooh,
Very good
That's
question.
a very good question, and we talk about this a lot around Christmas time. And you know, I think that choosing a pet is an intensely personal decision. And you know, when you walk into a shelter or a rescue situation, you have this bond with an animal that you feel, and you're like, you're the one for me, I'm the one for you, and you go home and it's this beautiful love story. But if you're doing this for someone, you're basically choosing an animal that they could potentially have for 10, 15, almost 20 years sometimes. So I think this is best left to people to choose for themselves. You can actually work with a shelter or a rescue, and you can pay an adoption fee for them. So you can give them a gift certificate for a pet, if you will. You know, say that I know you've been looking into getting a pet. I actually made a donation to this particular rescue. It paid your adoption fee if you so choose to do that. And that way you're getting them a pet, but you're not making that very, very personal decision for them. And it's a win-win for everyone.
And sort of
I
the
think
puppy coming out of the box at the party is like only really worth that one moment. The rest of the
Yeah.
time it's the hassle.
Yeah, I mean, I would never get anyone a puppy, honestly. Like, never. That's just so much work. And how do you know that this is, like I said, how do you know that this is what they're in for, you know? I mean, they might have gone out and gotten a 2-year-old dog that was already house trained, and they don't have to deal with all the puppy
would be me.
nonsense, you know?
Lots of ways to show your love then for the person
Exactly.
and for pets, but buying
Exactly.
a new animal for someone at this time of the year, maybe not.
Again, I mean, I don't want someone choosing someone that I'm going to live with for 15 years for me. I'd rather make that decision
No matter how
myself,
cute he or she is.
So, yes.
Dr. Katy, I know that we can watch your show. When can we watch your show? Tell us when we can watch your show. And
It's
find out more.
11 a.m. on Saturday mornings on News Channel 8. You can catch me doing some animal health reporting on ABC 7, and I'm Dr. Paws on WTOP as well. So I'm kind of all over the place. You can find me. Look for me.
We know the Washingtonians love their animals, and
That's
you're
right.
keeping them safe and loved and warm.
Hey,
So
we're
thank
trying,
you.
we're
Thanks so
trying.
much. And
Thanks for having me.
As always, thank you for watching us here. You can be our fan on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. And you can watch us right here and tell us who you think we should be dishing with next. We'll see you next time.